Forgot to turn my light on. There we go. How's that? Welcome to MUFC versus everybody. You guys, welcome back to the channel. I am your host, Sean, and I almost wasn't gonna go live tonight. There wasn't a whole lot going on. I did put together a few notes, but then literally like not even an hour ago, we got some breaking news. So of course, your guy had to be here to get your thoughts on everything going down. This is the channel that is about your opinion after all, right? Built on your opinion first and always. So wanted to get your thoughts on the latest and greatest tonight, Manchester United news. So let's get stuck in without any further ado. So obviously, if you couldn't tell by the thumbnail, breaking news: United have had a £42 million bid for Atalanta's Brazilian midfielder Ederson rejected today, as they sounds like Atalanta don't really want to lose Ederson with just 10 days left in the window and then have to find a replacement. This is all being reported by Alfredo Padilla, who's been very, very active in the summer window right now with the rumors and the updates and everything. So I think we can take this one to the bank. Everyone's focusing on that one sentence, right? That they've had a bid rejected, but they also there's an article attached to Padilla's tweet. You guys need to go read the article. It goes into further detail. If this is true, I wonder if Ederson is an alternative to Ugarte, or maybe is like the replacement for McTominay and or Eriksen. We know that we've been kind of offering Eriksen around for about 50 or about 5 mil. Sorry, 50 mil. Can you believe that? And obviously McTominay, we got some reports earlier coming from some iffy sources that we might be looking to lower the price that we're asking for McTominay. But again, if this is true, is Ederson the replacement for McTominay? Eriksen, is he an alternative to Ugarte? Justin getting in the chat, what's good? Who we getting at United today? You're not gonna get me, man. You're trying to catch me out. It's not gonna work. You're trying. Maybe if you let's all pressure Justin and guilt trip him into coming by next weekend to do a transfer window rating show. Maybe if you're here live, you get me to do that. So if you guys want to see Justin come by, do that. Hit the like button on the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and just peer pressure him into do it, because peer pressure is the way to get things done, as we learn from all the after school specials. So you do remember that we did sit down with Atalanta yesterday to hash out some details regarding Rasmus Højlund's transfer last summer. Ederson was discussed. We brought that up yesterday. Obviously, we've been linked to Ederson for a while. He's a midfielder we've had our eyes on, 25 years old, Brazilian, good defensively, good progressing the ball, kind of a good all-around midfielder, good box-to-box midfielder, kind of like that Sander Berge kind of role. Doesn't sound, again, like Atalanta were too keen on selling Ederson with such a short amount of time left in the window, and they don't want to find a replacement. Justin says he's in. He's bringing the Guinness. All right, my guy. Well, we'll be here. I will send you some stuff ahead of time so you can kind of prepare for that. But like we discussed yesterday with that news, and as Alfredo Padilla claims, this could be United planning more for the future as well, and starting that conversation now. If, like he says, that we are likely to return for Ederson in a few months, maybe ahead of the January window. Who knows? Maybe we could sell McTominay in January, maybe Eriksen. It's all kind of kicking off late this evening, folks. Could we see an actual January transfer that isn't an emergency loan, like an Odion Ighalo, like a Sabitzer, like a Weghorst? When was the last time we actually signed a player? It was at Bruno was the last time we actually signed a player in January. That was, what, 5 years ago now? Before that, was it, I want to say it was Juan Mata before that, right? That was that 13-14 season that we all want to forget. That's like the one jersey that from those seasons that I really don't want to purchase, but it is what it is. But keep an eye on this one. I'm sure we're going to get some more updates over the next few days. But let me know what you guys think of Ederson. I know we've been linked to him for a few months. A lot of people really rate him. He kind of fell off our radar for a little bit, and then the links started popping back up in the last week or so. Could be an alternative. Like I said, he's a good midfielder. He probably could. I mean, he'd probably start over Manu and partner Ugarte if we still get Ugarte. Otherwise, he's probably going to be the partner for Manu and kind of that all-around midfielder that can do a little everything, kind of like Adrien Rabiot as well. But we'll see. Let me know your thoughts on Ederson in the comments. We did get a little bit of an Ugarte update though, and this is coming from Fabrice Hawkins, who's been very active with PSG news. He works with RMC Sport. Good source for League On news and PSG news especially. But he's reported today that PSG have lowered their initial demands for Manuel Ugarte, but don't want to lose out too much because they did buy him for 60 million euros. I mean, do we really need to hash out Manuel Ugarte more? I mean, we all know how I feel. I know how you guys feel. I did that deep dive video on him a while back. Go check that out if you haven't yet to learn a little bit more about what he offers. Not only does he represent an ideal partner, in my opinion, for Kobbie Mainoo, someone who can kind of free Kobbie up from having to kind of track back all the time and having to do a little bit of everything and allow Kobbie to really shine. And Ugarte is a guy who's going to win the ball with a tackle. He's going to give it to Kobbie, and Kobbie's going to take it up the pitch. That's Ugarte's job. And I don't need him to do anything more than that, personally. If he wants to play as the deepest six and just patrol and just kill motherfuckers when they come into our third, go for it. I don't care. I like that. I like a little bite. I like when these players got that dog in them, like Licha, like Vidic did. Like, I don't care. But he can, because he can, and he has played as a lone six several times at PSG. So he does. If that's true, that we're going to be moving for him. If he does come in, it opens up some opportunities for us in terms of tactics, in terms of formations, in terms of what we do on and off the ball, resting defense, all that kind of stuff. So I like Ugarte, obviously. Journalist Marco Alcaraz has added more substance to this story. He reported earlier today that Ugarte has actually also asked to be left out of the PSG squad for Friday's Ligue 1 match against Montpellier. So that sounds like, as the original thumbnail implied, as I changed it, it sounds like Ugarte is kind of doing everything he can on his end to push this move through. We know that he wants to move. We know personal terms aren't a problem. He's not in Luis Enrique's plans. George Mendes, his agent, is pushing. His agency is pushing for this move. Everybody wants this move. PSG are just holding out because PSG can't stomach the thought of losing some money on a player that they don't want, who's been on the bench and who doesn't want to play anymore, who's left out of the squad. He's asked to be left out of the other squad. Like, you can't demand a high price anymore at that point. So we just need them to lower their price. They want what they paid for him, but they don't want to play him. So make that make sense. But it sounds like Ugarte is out here doing what he can do. His agent's doing what he can do. We're doing what we can do. Let's see if we can get this done before the weekend. I would love to have this done before the weekend. I would have loved to have had him in and registered by the time we get to the Brighton match. If we can get him registered by like early Friday morning, like, he could play against Brighton if he wanted to. So I think you got to do it like the 24 hours ahead of time or something. So see what happens with that. I know I've asked many times in many different videos. It seems like every day we almost have an Ugarte story to talk about. But let me know your thoughts on Ugarte. Will we get that over the line before the weekend? Is that a Ugarte or Ederson? Is it Ugarte and Ederson? Let me know your thoughts. I know Justin is praying that we don't sell McTominay. Keep in mind too that I know Justin, we talked about it, and we've talked about it on the channel on the award show. McTominay does obviously fight for the badge. He does get what it means to be United. That doesn't mean new signings don't. It doesn't mean that you only have to come from the academy to know what that is. Other signings can do it. And we've seen it time and time again with, like, Ander Herrera came and gave everything for the badge. I would argue Juan Mata gave everything for the badge. A lot of players do. Nemanja Vidic wasn't from the academy. No one can argue that he didn't give everything for the badge. Licha, Bruno. Players can do it. I do agree that it is an important trait. I feel like it's not something that we should be like, it's almost like it should be a given, right? You sign for a club, you should play for the badge, especially Manchester United. And maybe it's just because we're not used to seeing it from everybody all the time that we ask for it. It shouldn't be something that I feel like I need to ask for from a player. But no one can deny that that's what McTominay brings. But we'll see what happens. Ugarte, Ederson, it's all kicking off. If you're just joining the show, latest and greatest news coming from Alfredo Padilla, and United have had a £42.5 million bid for Ederson rejected by Atalanta during their sit-down discussions yesterday to hash out some Højlund transfer details and then bring up Ederson. Padilla does add that United could go back in a few months, maybe get that deal either done in January or agreed to in January for next summer, but we will see. Raja, Padilla, not very good. Padilla's actually been pretty decent this summer. If I got to be honest, we've talked about some of his stuff several times on the channel, and you know that other people all over YouTube right now are probably chatting about it as well. So Not saying, hey, 100% this, 100% not this, but it is the latest and greatest breaking news. So that's why we're here to get your guys' thoughts. Clearly, Rajat, you don't think Padilla is a very good source. So that's good too. I mean, maybe you know more about him than I do. But we're going to move on a little bit here. If you guys are just joining the channel, please hit that like button for me. Subscribe if you are new. Other bit of breaking news today, we've got Man United are planning to sit down with Kobbie Mainoo after the transfer window shuts to discuss a new contract. And that's coming from Sky Sports today. Honestly, pay the kid whatever he wants, put a blank contract in front of him, name the new stadium after him, give him the key, fuck it, give him the key to Manchester. I don't care. Give him the whole city is Mainoo as far as I'm concerned. I've told you before, Kobbie is the truth. Kobbie is the answer no matter the question. Pay him what he wants, sign the thing, get him in. We need to build around Kobbie Mainoo moving forward. That's just the plain and simple truth of it. Raja says, if he comes, great then. Yeah, we had that, Padulia's report is that we made an offer while we were sitting down yesterday with Atalanta, and they rejected it because there's not enough time in the window left for them to get a replacement and plan around that. So we might come back in a couple months and maybe get something done. So let me know your thoughts on Kobbie Mainoo possibly getting a new deal. We just gave Bruno Fernandes a new deal. Does anybody know what he's getting paid at? I know he's getting paid like on par with some of the top earners, but I haven't seen an actual number. I don't even have a number yet for Mazraoui's wages yet. But Kobbie Mainoo getting a new contract maybe after the window shuts. I like that. Let's lock him down and just keep him here. I mean, if we can keep hold of Kobbie for another 12, 13, 14 years, I mean, I would love Kobbie to come through and be another, like a class of 92, like a Giggsy, like a Gary Neville, and just be here and just play for us and play for this badge and just become kind of just the talisman for Manchester United, a mainstay. And so let me know. Gundogan back to Manchester City. Not good to hear. What the hell? Yeah, I got some thoughts on that. Mainoo not that different to Pogba. Opinion in terms of what? Quality, in terms of skill, in terms of profile. Let me know. I think Pogba probably has a better long-range ball, but I think they're very similar. I think that, he's probably going to get compared to Pogba, but let me know what you mean by that. Not that different. Is it just skill-wise, potential-wise? I mean, his attitude is definitely different. From what I've heard, he's got a good head on his shoulders. He's very grounded, very just mature, just as composed off the pitch as he is on the pitch. Raja says Mainoo attributes are similar to Pogba. Probably. I mean, he's obviously not as big as Pogba was, but Mainoo is probably still going to grow. I don't know if he's ever going to be as tall. But what that helps, though, is if you notice Pogba, he did get kind of pushed off the ball. Obviously, Pogba was very good on the dribble and everything. But when you're tall, like Pogba was, your center of gravity is higher, which means that you can be thrown off balance a little bit unless you're able to kind of get yourself down low and kind of bend your legs a little bit. And usually the shorter players, that lower center of gravity makes you very well balanced, and you can ride those tackles. You can stay on your feet a little bit better. So we'll see. I don't like comparing players necessarily in terms. I don't think you're doing this, but and we talked about it yesterday. Like the people who are like, some reason the media is creating this thing with like Maguire versus De Ligt. We saw it with Pogba and Bruno. Like, I don't get why we're doing this. You see a little bit of it now with Rashford and Garnacho. Like, we have these players in the squad. Why not just support them and let them play? Doesn't make sense to me, but I hear you, Rajat. So the Ben Chilwell gossip will not shut up today. I told you way back when Shaw's injury was announced that we were going to get linked to Ben Chilwell again, because it always seems like that's what happens. And here we are. Let's indulge for a second. Let's pretend for 1 second that there's any sort of semblance of legitimacy to these Ben Chilwell links, right? In what way, in what world, in what universe is it smart to replace two injury-prone left backs with another injury-prone left back, right? Like, in what world is that's like replacing Raphael Varane with Phil Jones? No disrespect, Phil Jones. We love you, pal. Congratulations on a retirement. Hope you enjoy earning your coaching badges. But yeah, in what world is Ben Chilwell ever a good idea as a left back signing for Manchester United, when the reason we're looking for a left back is because our left backs are injury prone? Like, that make sense. The math ain't mathing on that one. The guy missed 35 matches in like 150 days. And that was last season alone, by the way. I'm not talking like, oh, his whole career. I mean, that was just last season. Between September and April, Ben Chilwell has missed 35 matches and 150 days of football. Sorry, moving on. And don't even bring up Marcus Alonso. I know I just did by saying not to do it. Don't even do it because I'm going to get mad. But you know how I feel about Marcus Alonso. The dude should be in prison. So moving on from Ben Chilwell, I hope that's the last time I have to mention Ben Chilwell on this channel because the dude just ain't good enough. So in other news, Facundo Pellistri has officially left Manchester United. Fabrizio Romano gave us the here we go late this morning. The club confirmed it as well. And Facundo Pellistri penned a little goodbye letter on social media for United fans, as most of the players do when they leave. For according to Romano, Panathinaikos, a Greek club, obviously, signed Facundo Pellistri from Manchester United. Permanent deal, 6 million euros fixed fee, so that's just over 5 million pounds. 2 million in add-ons. I think that's what, like a million and 1.4, 1.3 or something. Buyback option valid until 2027, so we could bring him back if we wanted to. And the kicker, which we mentioned the other day, 45% sell-on clause for United. So that to me is a pretty good deal for Facundo Pellistri. I think we played like 9 million for him. We got 5.1 million plus 2 million in add-ons, bringing that up to maybe just over 6. And then if he goes for like 20 million, that's, you know, almost 10 million that we're going to get from that in the future. So even the sell-on clause could end up being more than what we initially paid for him. And usually when clubs are selling a player that has a sell-on clause included, so in Panathinaikos' case, if they sell Pellistri, they're going to want to ask for a little more because of the sell-on clause that we were going to get. So they're going to want to accommodate for that, basically. So good deal all around, I think. You know, it's too bad it didn't work out for him. I don't know really what the plan was for that. Like I've mentioned before, I kind of feel like that was back when the Mbappes were coming through and the Sanchos were starting to get noticed a little bit more. I think that United, they got Ahmad, they got Pellistri in the same summer. I think they were just kind of scrambling and doing this scattergun approach to try to uncover the next Mbappe and see if they can kind of really quickly flip a player for profit, like Dortmund or something. It just didn't work out. Thankfully, Ahmad is stuck around. We're able to get him back, and he's doing really, really well. Pellistri, it just didn't work out. It is what it is. Raja says, how about Andre from Fluminense? Why not get him if he's 20, 30 million? I mean, we mentioned him in the past on a video as well. There were some tentative links a couple weeks ago as well. Again, it's not up to us, unfortunately. I know he rejected Liverpool, just like Zubamendi did, but we don't want to go into that. Should I drink some Scouse Tears to celebrate that? It's never too late for some Scouse Tears energy drink. Scouse Cheers energy drink. You'll always cry alone. Thank you, Scouse Cheers, for sponsoring tonight's video. Wink. So 6 million euros permanent sale, 2 million in add-ons, 45% sell-on fee, buyback option. Pretty much just everything we could throw in, we just threw in there. So what do you guys think? Should Pellistri have been given more time? Should we have tried to maybe keep him and maybe push harder to sell some? Do you think he's better than Anthony? Do you think he's better than Sancho? Let me know your thoughts, but it sounds like a good deal financially anyway, and especially if he does well in the Greek league, if he does well at Panathinaikos. Are they in Europe? I didn't even check to see if they were in Europe at all this year. They could be, but he gets himself noticed, and maybe in a year or two he can move to another club and we'll get some of that back. So it is what it is. Justin says, the reason why Madrid wins CL so frequently is they teach players to play for the badge and they get W's. I mean, it's Real Madrid. I mean, same as Manchester United. It shouldn't take much. Again, this is what I mean. Like, teaching players to play for the badge shouldn't be something that even crosses anybody's mind in terms of coaching or managing or CEO or owners. Like, why? It's like I shouldn't have to tell people to. It's like having to teach a waiter, like, hey, check on the water levels at the table. If it's low on water, refill the water. Like, I shouldn't have. That should just be a given. If I have to teach a player, if I have to basically train into a player, like, hey, you fight for this badge, there's a problem there already. And even Fergie would look at a player's personality usually before looking at what they brought to on the pitch, because that is important. We don't want mercs. We don't want, weak players who are going to shrink away from that pressure. We want players who are going to step up. And so Madrid do it well. I think that Madrid, unfortunately, and we've seen it more recently, and Justin, you might know more than me, but like they're getting more and more of their youth promoted, which I think is good. They've just up until recently, some of that youth just Florentino Perez was just going full Florentino Perez for so many years, and then Zidane kind of slowed things down a little bit. And I think that kind of reset things in some way, because you're seeing guys like Fran Garcia and some of these guys get some more minutes. They're still buying more and more players every year, but I do like that they've had a bit more of the stuff. They stuck with someone like Lucas Vasquez, for instance. Nacho was there, then he just left, obviously, but I do think Madrid should look inward a little bit more, personally, but it is what it is. But you would know more. I defer to your judgment. You are the Madridista. So, Raja, a few players play for the shirt. Bruno, Dallo, Casemiro, kind of, Garnacho, Leach, to name some. I think some players do play for the shirt. I think sometimes I think that sometimes the modern player is a little, their ego and their pride is a little fragile. And I think that when things don't go well, there's no resilience, there's no intrinsic motivation, there's no shared kind of responsibility and accountability and support. And so everybody, when things don't go well and they miss a couple of dribbles, you see with Rashford sometimes, he'll play for the badge when things are going well, but when things aren't going well, when play breaks down or someone makes a bad pass, he's slapping his thighs, he's throwing his hands up, he's looking frustrated, and he kind of starts walking around, pulling out of challenges and stuff. That's where the resilience comes in, which is a little bit more kind of detailed than just playing for the badge. Resilience is a mental thing that, I did a whole article on that when I was writing for Steady News on resilience in this Manchester United squad. You could probably still find it if you go dig around in the opinion section on Steady News. I wrote quite a few articles for them, but so I don't want to go into it too much. Maybe one day we'll do another video on the mental health aspect and resilience and whatnot. But until then, suffice it to say that playing for the badge, at least in my opinion, it's like, what is the famous thing Roy Keane says? It's his job when he's talking about De Gea making saves. Like, it's your job. I shouldn't have to teach you, hey, by the way, play for the badge. Hey, by the way, run fast. Hey, by the way, like, put your boots on when you go out on the pitch. Like, it's like some of that stuff to me is like, I shouldn't have to do that. But Raja says, I'm sure Maz and De Ligt won't have to get taught how to play at Manchester United, because Maz and De Ligt are going to play for Ten Hag. They're going to want to play for the guy they know, the guy they trust. They're going to believe in him. And what that does too, when you've got players, and this is part of why so many managers, not just Ten Hag, so many managers end up signing former players, is because that buying in to their tactics, that familiarity with their tactics, that spreads through the dressing room, it spreads on the pitch, and it's going to it's going to have this trickle down effect as well. So Palestri, anyway, as I was saying, we went off on a little bit of tangent. That's fine. The afternoon shows, the evening shows, that's kind of what we do. There is a script here. I've got notes and everything, but it's okay if we go a little off book. By the end of the day, people are kind of winding down. People are kind of just, spouting abstractly, and there's nothing wrong with that. I do it all the time. On some PSG stuff, getting back to Ugarte. So Fabrice Hawkins claimed this afternoon that Jadon Sancho wants to join PSG. We kind of already knew that. We saw a couple weeks ago, personal terms are kind of agreed. That his name was kind of brought up during Ugarte discussions, reportedly. Who knows what's going to happen with Jadon Sancho if and when this Ugarte deals go through. This deal, maybe it could hinge on whether or not this Ugarte transfer is a straight transfer, or maybe it's a loan with an obligation to buy. PSG are bringing in Desiree Doué. They've got Barcola. I feel like I always forget they've got Asensio. That's who I always forget they picked up. And then Kanjin Lee can sometimes play wide. He was kind of a wide player when he was with Mallorca, but then he would kind of move inward a little bit. So who knows what PSG's plans are under Luis Enrique. They still have Gonçalo Ramos kicking around. They still have Kolo Muani kicking around. So they just started buying, and for no reason. They still have players there that, like, I don't even know if I can list them all, because they have so many players just coming in and who don't really play. But is Danilo Pereira still there? Like, I don't even know. So let me know if you guys are more familiar with PSG squad than I am, because the last time I remember anything big about PSG squad, obviously before they signed Messi, but like back when Thomas Tuchel was there, and then he wanted a defender. They didn't want to give him a defender. They bought Danilo Pereira, and Tuchel played him as a defender just to kind of throw a tantrum. That's the kind of stuff that cracks me up. If you can't laugh at stuff like that, then I mean something's wrong with you. But on to some other interesting things. So usually there's a part of the video where I like to rant and go off and usually poke fun at somebody, but I gotta call something out today. So Mike McGrath is reporting that Newcastle and Crystal Palace are about £5 million away from a deal for Mark Gehi. Apparently, it's going to be a £65 million move for Mark Gehi to go to Newcastle from Crystal Palace, guys. £65 million for Mark Gehi. Let that sink in. £65 million for a Crystal Palace defender who's had a decent season last year, but it's not like they did anything of note, right? But we're told that we pay too much for De Ligt. We're told that we pay too much for Lenny Yoro. For fuck's sake. English media and English pundits are either clueless or full of shit or all of the above. I'll let you guys decide which one of that is then. But just you can't listen to them. Guys like Graham Souness have no idea what they're talking about. This guy signed Ali Dia. If you want to know more about, whenever I see Graham Souness news or Graham Souness making a comment about United, I always just post Ali Dia, and that's it. If you guys want to know more about why I do that, go look up Ali Dia, ALYDIA, and you'll know why. This is why you can't take anything that Graham Souness says seriously, because the guy has no fucking idea what he's talking about. But we already knew that, right? You should know that by now. So I read an interesting stat today. So to lead into it, so remember we talked about the Fulham match. So we got a glimpse of what Ten Hag's trying to do with as far as this pressing system, as far as this defense, what he's been trying to implement, this 4-2-4, this hexagon shape, right? Two attackers pressing, the two wide players kind of holding and moving centrally to block some of those lanes, and then the two midfielders kind of holding their spot there. Very different from what we saw last season. Interesting what happens when you get some good players in. Sounds like this is what we're moving into now. And maybe Ruud van Nistelrooy and Rene Haka have something to do with that as well. We know Ruud, from his time as PSV, set up his teams to play very compactly, defensively, very hard to break down. So maybe that has something to do with it. In any case, it worked, right? I mentioned this in my 3 thoughts on the match video. Not only did it work, but it enabled United to win possession in the attacking third more than any other team in the Premier League opening weekend. We won the possession back in the final third 10 times against Fulham. And that's coming from whoscored.com. If you guys want to ever look around stats, if you want to get into the stats stuff, whoscored.com, Optas are all very good websites. So 10 times in the final third, winning the ball back more than any other team opening weekend. This is exactly what Ten Hag's been talking about. We want to press high. We want to win that ball back and do quick transitions and get the ball in the dangerous areas. This is exactly what he's trying to do. But Ten Hag has no tactics, though, right? That's what we're led to believe. If any rival fan, any pundit, any journalist tries to tell you that Ten Hag has no tactics or they can't see his system, like Jamie Carragher, I don't see what he's doing there. Just they don't know what they just stare at him like this. Just stare at him just like that until they realize on their own how stupid they sound and how foolish they look. That's all I want you to do. You don't have to say anything. You don't have to argue. We're not going to get into a Man United apologetics discourse here. It's just stare at them like this. They'll figure it out sooner or later. You can turn it into a game and count how long it takes them to figure it out, but that's all you need to do because these dudes are freaking clueless, like absolutely clueless. So, but I didn't need to tell you that, right? We already knew that. Jamie Carragher has no idea what he's talking about. Graham Souness has no idea what he's talking about. Gabby Agbonlahor, Simon Jordan, Stevie Nicol, Craig. We can go on and on. We can make a starting 11 of anti-United Abu journos and pundits who haven't got a Scooby-Doo, as they say in the UK, what they're talking about. So let me know your thoughts on that fun little stat because it's just one to bring up anytime someone chats nonsense about Ten Hag not having tactics. So bring it up. Moving on here. So someone left a comment on a recent video asking about watch-alongs. I think they asked about watch-alongs for academy matches. I commented, I think it was this morning's video on Jack Fletcher coming on as a sub against Barnsley. We were down 2-0. He comes on in the second half. He scores twice. Ennis scores another one, but Collier was heavily involved too. But yeah, Jack Fletcher came on, basically won the match for us, scored a winner, and then he scored a brilliant 1.5 volley that he took down off his chest. Jack Fletcher looks really good. So anyway, I made a point to call that out in this morning's video. And I don't typically have a way to watch the academy matches. I think I got sent like a stream, like a link to a stream to watch that from one of the guys I know, and just happened to catch most of that, mostly the second half. So I don't usually do any academy watch alongs. So I think they asked about an academy watch along in the comments because I don't have a way to watch them. As far as first team watch alongs, it's something that's been brought up a couple times by like Justin and stuff. I could probably make that work at some point if enough of you are interested in doing something like that. The problem is like on Premier League match weekends, I'll usually head to Loaded Dice and watch the match with the Detroit Red Devils Manchester United supporters group. So I'm not here to do the watch along. So that'd be very difficult. Plus, I don't have a TV. I'd have to bring a whole nother screen up here to try to do a split screen and make that work. So if it's something that people might be interested in doing, kind of chatting a bit as the match is going on and doing the watch, I have no problem with it. It would take a little bit of finagling on my end, but it would just have a lot of things would have to line up, like I say, because I'm usually not here to watch these matches. So we'll see. But let me know in the comments. Let me know after the video if that's something you'd be interested in being a part of. Because like I said, I don't have a problem with it. It's just not something that logistically I usually have the ability to do. So let me know. And then closing. So remember this morning, I said to watch Malmo's Champions League qualifying match against Sparta Prague today. So they didn't end up winning. I think they lost 2-0 to Sparta Prague. Sparta Prague looked really good. But remember, I said specifically look out for Sebastian Nanasi, Swedish winger, plays for Malmo. Very good, has a lot of goals and a lot of assists in the last couple seasons. Already is doing really well. Top assist in Malmo's league right now after 17 matches. Very good young winger. Has been attracting a lot of interest. Well, you may be hearing more about him this season and maybe even in the next couple seasons, because Fabrizio Romano gave us a here we go this afternoon for Nanasi, saying that he is set to join French club Strasbourg. Problem is with that, and this is crushing my dreams, just like Ferdy potentially going to Brighton. Strasbourg are owned by Blueco, which is Todd Bowley's consortium. So that's probably Nanasi to Chelsea in a year or two. We know Chelsea have pretty much told Raheem Sterling to fuck off. They don't want him as part of the club. They stripped him of his shirt number, and that came out of nowhere. They did the same with Trevoh Chalobah. So maybe they'll be looking for another winger. There was some tentative links with Chelsea and Sancho, but it does sound like that Nanasi is going to Strasbourg. He's probably going to spend a year or two in the French league and probably going to get scooped up by Chelsea if Todd Bowley is still there, if they can even register players. Someone's got to tell me if Chelsea can even register players right now, because I don't understand how they're making it work over there at Stamford Bridge. They are just buying I mean, do they still have hotels to sell? I don't get how they're doing what they're doing, but somebody let me know how they're doing that. I'm sure somebody out there is a little bit more knowledgeable about football finance than me. I only have a certain amount of time today. I've only got a certain amount of hard drive space in my brain. I can't look into each and every facet of football in terms of finances and economic and all that stuff. But I'm sure someone will look it up. But that is going to do it for me. Let me check one more time real quick, as I always do, just to make sure there's been no late breaking news before I check out for the night, you guys. Let me know if you have any thoughts in the comments. You know, Ederson, Ugarte, Palestri leaving, Kadmi Mainoo's new contract. I do appreciate everybody who stopped by tonight. Justin getting involved, Rajak getting involved. Do appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video for me on the way out, guys. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you are new. We did break that 700 mark for subscribers today. Let's keep pushing. I would love for us to get to 1,000 within the next few months. I know that you guys can do it. So spread the word, get people involved, even if it's just to tell your friends to watch this idiot chat nonsense about football for a half hour every now and then. That's fine too, as long as they subscribe. If they're laughing, that's cool. So thank you guys for stopping by. I appreciate it. And I will see you guys hopefully tomorrow morning with some breaking news. Hopefully we get this Ugarte deal wrapped up. So take it easy. Enjoy your night. I will talk to you later.